The most illegal website, the Silk Road on October 1st, 2013. A 29-year-old man walked into the Glen Park Library in San Francisco and opened his laptop. What he didn't know was that FBI agents were already positioned throughout the library, watching his every move. Within minutes, they would arrest him for running what the government called the most sophisticated and extensive criminal marketplace on the internet. This man wasn't a typical drug dealer or gangster. He was a physics student, a former Eagle Scout, and a libertarian idealist who believed he was changing the world. But he had created something that would generate over $1.2 billion in illegal sales and become the FBI's most wanted target. Before we uncover the truth behind the most illegal website in history, here's a quick request. If this story interests you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Ooh. Seriously, it takes just 1 second, but it helps us tremendously. Did you subscribe? Great. Now let's dive into the world of the dark web's biggest empire. This is the story of Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road, a website so illegal that it changed how law enforcement fights cybercrime forever. Chapter 1. The idealistic beginning. Ross Ulbricht wasn't supposed to become a criminal mastermind. Born in 1984, he was raised in Texas by loving parents who ran vacation rental properties in Costa Rica. He was an Eagle Scout, studied physics at the University of Texas, and went on to get a master's degree in material science from Penn State. But Ross had a problem with authority. He was a passionate libertarian who believed the government had no right to control what people put in their bodies. To him, drug prohibition was not just wrong, it was a violation of basic human freedom. In 2010, Ross was working odd jobs and struggling to find his purpose when he discovered Bitcoin and the Tor network. Bitcoin was a new digital currency that allowed anonymous transactions, while Tor was a special internet browser that could hide your identity completely. That's when Ross had his billion-dollar idea. What if there was a place where people could buy and sell anything they wanted, completely free from government interference? A true free market where consenting adults could make their own choices without fear of arrest or prosecution. Chapter 2. Building the Underground Empire. In January 2011, Ross launched the Silk Road from his bedroom. He named it after the ancient trade routes that connected East and West, symbolizing his vision of global free commerce. To protect his identity, he adopted the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts from the movie The Princess Bride. The Silk Road wasn't just another website, it was a technological marvel. To access it, users had to download the Tor browser and navigate to a special, onion address that couldn't be found on Google. All transactions were conducted in Bitcoin, making payments nearly impossible to trace. Ross designed the site like a legitimate e-commerce platform, complete with user reviews, seller ratings, and customer service. It looked and felt just like Amazon or eBay, except you could buy heroin, cocaine, fake passports, and even hire hitmen. The site had strict rules: no child pornography, no stolen credit cards, and no items designed to harm innocent people. In Ross's mind, he was creating a harm reduction platform where drug users could buy safer products from trusted vendors instead of dangerous street dealers. Chapter 3. The Amazon of Drugs. The Silk Road exploded in popularity after a Gawker article in June 2011 brought mainstream attention to the site. Suddenly, thousands of new users were signing up every day. By the end of 2011, the site was processing $500,000 in sales every month. The variety of illegal goods was staggering. The site had nearly 13,000 drug listings organized into categories like cannabis, psychedelics, stimulants, and opioids. There were 159 listings for hacking services, 801 for digital goods like stolen accounts, and 169 for fake documents including passports and driver's licenses. Ross, as Dread Pirate Roberts, took a commission on every sale, MP typically between 8 to 15%. As the site grew, so did his wealth. He was making millions of dollars while living a double life in San Francisco, where friends had no idea he was running the world's largest drug marketplace. The site had over 957,000 registered users from around the world, with about 30% from the United States. Between February 2011 and July 2013, the Silk Road facilitated sales of 9.5 million bitcoins, worth approximately $1.2 billion at the time. Chapter 4. The dark side emerges. As the Silk Road grew, so did the pressure on Ross. Running a billion-dollar criminal empire took a toll, and he began making darker decisions. When a former employee named Curtis Green was arrested and appeared to be cooperating with law enforcement, Ross made a chilling decision. He hired what he thought was a hitman to kill Green for $80,000. What Ross didn't know was that the hitman was actually an undercover DEA agent who staged Green's death and sent Ross fake photos as proof. Ross paid the full amount, believing he had ordered his first murder. This wouldn't be the last time. FBI investigators later found evidence that Ross had paid for at least 5 additional murders, spending over $730,000 on hits targeting people who threatened to expose the Silk Road. Fortunately, none of these murders actually occurred in MP. They were all scams or sting operations. The sweet physics student had transformed into someone willing to kill to protect his empire. Chapter 5. The FBI Investigation. From the beginning, law enforcement agencies around the world were trying to identify the mysterious Dread Pirate Roberts. The FBI's cybercrime unit, the DEA, and the IRS all launched separate investigations, but the Tor network's anonymity made it nearly impossible to trace. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source, an IRS agent named Gary Alford who was doing detective work in his spare time. In early 2011, Alford found an obscure forum post where a user named Altoid had mentioned the Silk Road just days after it launched. 8 months later, the same Altoid user posted a job listing looking for an IT professional to work on a Bitcoin startup company. The post asked interested applicants to contact rossalbricht@gmail.com. It was Ross's real email address, a mistake that would eventually bring down his entire empire. Chapter 6. Closing the Net. By 2013, multiple agencies had identified Ross Ulbricht as their prime suspect. FBI agents tracked his Google account activity and discovered something remarkable. Every time Dread Pirate Roberts logged into the Silk Road, Ross Ulbricht was simultaneously accessing his Gmail account. The timing was too consistent to be a coincidence. Agents also discovered that Ross had made other critical mistakes. He had used his real name on programming forums when asking for help with Tor-related coding problems. He had even used the same computer to access both his personal accounts and the Silk Road administration panel. In July 2013, customs agents intercepted a package of fake IDs mailed to Ross's San Francisco address. When they questioned him about it, Ross claimed he had no idea where they came from, but all the IDs had his photo on them. Chapter 7. The Library Arrest. On October 1st, 2013, FBI agents were ready to make their move. They knew Ross was living in San Francisco and frequently worked from cafes and the local library. The challenge was catching him red-handed. They needed to arrest him while he was logged into the Silk Road to prove he was Dread Pirate Roberts. An undercover agent named Jared Dur-Yagayan positioned himself outside the Glen Park Library and logged into the Silk Road's admin chat. When Ross entered the library and opened his laptop, Dur-Yagayan watched as Dread Pirate Roberts came online. Dur-Yagayan began chatting with Ross, directing him to check a specific message that would require him to stay logged in. At that moment, 2 undercover agents staged a loud fight near Ross's table to create a distraction. As Ross turned to look at the commotion, FBI agents swarmed in. One agent grabbed his laptop while others handcuffed him. The laptop was still open, still logged into the Silk Road with Ross's administrator privileges clearly visible. Ross's password was later discovered to be "Try to crack this NSA," a final act of defiance against government surveillance. Chapter 8. The trial and conviction. Ross's trial began in January 2015, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. The FBI had seized his laptop with all of his personal files, including a detailed journal of his Silk Road activities. They had chat logs showing him ordering murders, financial records proving he had earned over $80 million in commissions, and testimony from multiple witnesses. Ross's defense team argued that he had created the Silk Road as an economic experiment, but had quickly handed control to others. They claimed he was lured back just before his arrest to take the fall for the site's real operators. The jury wasn't convinced. On February 4, 2015, Ross was found guilty on all 7 charges, including drug trafficking, money laundering, and running a continuing criminal enterprise. On May 29, 2015, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Chapter 9. The Aftermath. The Silk Road shutdown didn't end the dark web drug trade. If anything, it made it worse. Within a month, Silk Road 2.0 launched, followed by dozens of other marketplaces. Each new site learned from Ross's mistakes, making them harder for law enforcement to track. The investigation also revealed corruption within law enforcement. 2 federal agents who had worked on the case were arrested for stealing bitcoins and selling inside information. Agent Carl Force had taken over $800,000, while Agent Sean Bridges had stolen $800,000 in bitcoins. Ross became a cause célèbre for libertarians and cryptocurrency enthusiasts who argued his sentence was excessive. His supporters claimed he was being punished for creating technology, not for selling drugs himself. Chapter 10. The Presidential Pardon. For over a decade, Ross sat in prison while his mother campaigned tirelessly for his release. Libertarians and crypto advocates rallied around his case, arguing that his life sentence was government overreach. In May 2024, presidential candidate Donald Trump promised libertarian voters he would commute Ross's sentence on day one if elected. True to his word, on January 21, 2025, his second day back in office, Trump granted Ross a full and unconditional pardon. In his Truth Social post, Trump wrote, "The scum that worked to convict him were some of the same lunatics who were involved in the modern-day weaponization of government against me. He was given 2 life sentences, plus 40 years. Ridiculous. The legacy. The Silk Road changed everything. It proved that with the right technology, anyone could create a global criminal marketplace from their bedroom. It introduced millions of people to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It forced law enforcement to develop new techniques for fighting cybercrime. But most importantly, it showed the world both the promise and the danger of a truly anonymous internet." Ross Ulbricht started with noble intentions, creating a free market where consenting adults could make their own choices. But power corrupted him, and his idealistic experiment became a billion-dollar criminal empire. Today, as Ross adjusts to life as a free man, the dark web continues to evolve. New marketplaces emerge constantly, each more sophisticated than the last. The techniques Ross pioneered are now used by criminals worldwide, and the battle between privacy advocates and law enforcement continues. The Silk Road may be gone, but its legacy lives on in every encrypted message, every Bitcoin transaction, and every debate about freedom versus security in the digital age. Ross Ulbricht created more than just a website. He created a revolution that we're still living with today.